Now I am.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم نور قلوبنا بالعلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. Welcome to the All About Zakah for Muslims in the US Part 2. Let me walk you quickly through what we have covered last time. Okay, we talked about the differences, some of the technical differences between zakah and taxes, and we said that tax could not substitute the zakah with some technical differences. Zakatable wealth, the personal and the business zakatable wealth, and the non-zakatable wealth already covered. And the zakatability or the conditions for the payer, or the criteria where you have to match to pay zakatul mal, as well as for the wealth itself, and threshold versus poverty line. And we indicated that there are two different standards in which you should not intermingle them together or mix them together. Combining assets to reach nisab. I think this is where we stopped. Am I correct? You still remember? We stopped here? No. Combining assets to reach nisab. If you have different assets that belong to different categories, for example, you have some cattle but they did not reach nisab, as well as some cash money but they did not reach nisab, as well as some agricultural products but they did not reach nisab. The question here, do you have to combine all these different assets together to constitute a nisab? The answer is no. Because every single category has its own criteria, its own threshold and volume and way of calculating zakat. So you do not have to combine different assets. However, only and only if the different assets are belonging to the same category. Someone has gold and silver, has cows and buffalo, has sheep and goat. Well, in this particular case, yes, they have to be combined together because they belong to the same category. Consistency of possessing the threshold. No need for you to make sure that you keep up with the threshold or the minimum amount or the nisab throughout the whole year. As long as you started your zakah calculation accordingly, appropriately, which is to start from the date in which the nisab, the minimum amount of certain wealth, has been accumulated, constituted, then this is the beginning of your hawl. This is the beginning of your hawl. Hawl means the fiscal lunar year, zakah year. Okay, that's the hawl. So throughout the whole year, regardless of the fluctuation of ownership, it doesn't make that difference. You accumulated nisab in Safar the 1st of 1435. Okay? Now in Safar the 1st of 1436, if you still have a nisab and up, then you need to pay zakat al-mal. Practically speaking, especially for business people, it's really hard to keep up with the nisab throughout the whole year. I mean, sometimes you run out of stocks, out of inventory, out of commodities, out of even cash. When you trade, when you buy and you sell, sometimes, I mean, you run out of merchandise you have, you spend the whole cash money that you have, to buy a new commodities. So if you take some snapshots throughout the whole year, there is a high possibility that in a certain time, a certain situation, you might run out of assets. So if this is the case, if you have to stop and start all over, you might not pay zakah forever, because every single year you might go through the same scenario. Salaries and professional fees. I think we already covered it last time. We said do not worry about the flow of income. If you provide a professional service, you work as a CPA, as a medical doctor, as an engineer, as a lawyer, whatever the profession might be, if you receive money on a periodical basis, sometimes even on daily basis, okay? This does not mean that every single payment you receive from your clients has to stay under your possession for one complete year. It means, when we say that حولان الحول, the passage of one lunar year, it means that in the zakat due date, whatever you have available, even if you received a part of this money in the virtual pool of money just a few hours before the zakat due date, whatever you have available is subject to zakat. Now, if you believe otherwise, you're going to end up with having 365 zakat due date, because every single payment has to be tracked, has to be documented, and you need to sleep on it for one complete year, making sure that you still have the money, and then you pay its zakat. And so for the payment that has been received yesterday, it has its own zakat. And for today's payment, the same, which is very close to impossible, practically speaking. So to make it very simple, or as they say, long story short, in the zakat due date, whatever money you have available, received, forget about the receivables, by the way, forget about the payables, okay? Do not include anything. Receivables, whatever you expect to receive from your clients, is not to be included, okay? It doesn't mean that you are not paying zakat on the receivables. You are paying zakat. Whatever is receivable in the zakat due date for this year, inshallah will be received already in the next year. So if you did not pay zakat for this year, you're going to pay zakat on the next year. Payables are the same. If something is not due immediately in the zakat due date, just skip it. Keep it, okay? Because it's not paid yet, okay? Whenever it is paid, it will be deducted. If you keep it for this year, for next year, it's going to be deducted already, because it's already paid. So keep it as simple as possible. Receivables, payables are not to be taken into consideration. Do not include the receivables, and do not exclude the payables. Just keep it as simple as possible. The money that you have in the zakat due date are subject to zakat al-mal. Jewelry and ornaments, we have a long debate between different madhab regarding the zakatability of jewelry. If you follow the conservative approach of Abu Hanifa and some of the Hanabil rahimahullah jami'an, that jewelry is subject to zakat, I would say keep up the good job, stay as is. Okay? Do not stop paying zakat al-mal. But if you ask me a question, do I have to pay zakat on the jewelry of my wife or my daughters or for our sisters? Do I have to pay zakat on my jewelry? I would say no, you don't have to. Anything that is labeled or classified as personal belonging is exempted from zakat al-mal. The house that you live in is exempted. The clothes that you wear are exempted. Transportation are exempted. The food that you are storing in your kitchen are exempted. The furniture that you use in your house exempted. The jewelry, in the same logic, the jewelry that our sisters use are exempted. Again, it's a long debate between the madahib, but to the best of my knowledge, jewelry are not zakatable as long as they have been bought for personal use and they are within the average. The average actually differs from era to another, from maybe one society to another. If you live back home in Algeria or in China or in Yemen or in Saudi Arabia, that's way different from the US. Within the US, we have low class, we have middle class, we have high class. So make a comparison, okay, for our sister. Make a comparison between yourself and other sisters who belong to the same, I would say, the same category or the same class. How much they usually have? Up to $15,000, $20,000. If you have up to $20,000, that's zakat exempt. Again, as long as there is no commercial purpose behind buying or owning the jewelry. If you have $100,000 jewelry, I would say the first 20,000 are exempted, because this is the average that other sisters have in the same society. Okay, and the rest are subject to zakah, to stay away from the differences of our scholars. As it is always said, al-khuruj min al-khilafi mustahab. Always stay in the safe side. Again, I'm not here to tell you stop paying zakah on the jewelry. I'm saying that if you ask me, do I have to pay zakat al-mal on the jewelry that I have or my wife have, the answer is no, with two conditions. For personal use, within the average that other sisters have in that society. Retirement funds is a new issue, and that's why if you keep reading in the classical fiqh books, you will not find them straightforward answer to it. And even if you ask people of knowledge who are living here in this society, you will be getting like different answers. I'm not claiming that my answer is the most correct one, but I think Allah Alam it is the most, I would say, reasonable one. You might ask a sheikh that you trust his knowledge, and the answer will be, forget about your 401k, because it is inaccessible kind of wealth. You do not have an access to it. So just sleep on it until the age of retirement, or Allah forbids, in case of death or disability, whenever you receive the money, then you pay it zakah, or you start paying it zakah. And you ask another sheikh, the answer might be, well, it is zakatable on an annual basis. I mean, you are making money. This is the kind of investment. If the 401k is not zakatable, then what else should be charged zakatable? Now, if you ask me, I would hold the stick from the middle, as they say. And this is the formula that we came up with in our fiqh council. We said that whatever is accessible in the zakat you date, whatever is accessible, or what we call it the withdrawable amount, means that if you decide to withdraw from your 401k in the zakat due date, how much you will be having an access to? 50%, if you apply for a humanitarian case, for example, will the investment company give you an access to 50% or 60%, 70, more or less, whatever the percent might be? If you decide to proceed, you will be charged different kinds of charges. Processing fees, penalty, interest, service fees, whatever they call it. So just do a very theoretical calculation. Go with the withdrawable amount. You don't have to withdraw it. It's just a calculation. Withdrawable amount minus any prescribed penalty, any prescribed tax, and the net actually is the zakatable one. That amount of money has to be added to the virtual pool of money along with other resources that you might have. Okay, you have some exploited assets, you have a salary, you have individual retirement account, or whatever, the source might be, put everything together and you pay zakah. Again, there is nothing straightforward in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to answer this question. So what we do is just we apply ijtihad, independent reasoning. I think, wallah alam, our approach is the most reasonable one. You might say, well, if I decide to withdraw, I can withdraw 100% of my 401k. If this is the case, then you have to pay zakah on the 100% of what you have, minus the deductions. The prescribed penalty, tax, service, processing fees, whatever they call it. Stocks, shares, and bonds. To start with, shares and stocks are very similar to one another. Bonds are different. Bonds is a kind of interest-bearing loan. You are lending the federal government a certain amount of money for a certain percent as an interest. So it's not an option for you to start with as a practicing or religious Muslim. When it comes even to stocks, you need to be careful and limit yourself to the stocks that belong to companies in which their core business is a halal one. Their core business is a halal one. Now, do we have a pure halal 100% stocks? The answer is no. We are dreaming if we say yes. Not only in the US, even if you go any place in the world. Okay, the capitalist economic system is now dominating everything, and there must be some percentage of haram involved in the stocks. And subhanAllah, the situation that we are experiencing nowadays remind me with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, يأتي على الناس زمان من لم يأكل الربا أصابه من غباره. A time will come in which if people avoid riba in a way or another, they will be contaminated with riba, either willingly or unwillingly. And subhanAllah, it's the exact case that we are experiencing. There is some percentage of haram contaminating the stock that you hold, even if the core business of that company is a halal one. As I said, bonds are not an option for you. Derivatives are not an option for you. Different kinds of options, CDS, like different securities that they came up with nowadays, or investment instruments in the stock market are not an option for you whatsoever. How to calculate your zakah on the stocks that you have? Now, if you hold the stocks and you are happy with the dividend that you make, meaning that the stocks are not for sale, you are not speculating in the market, buying and selling, then you pay zakah on the dividend only, the profit that you make. Whether you withdraw the dividend or you capitalize it, you just add it to your account and buy more stocks, it doesn't make any difference. If the face value or the market value of the stocks is 100,000 and the profit that you made for that particular year is 10,000, then you pay zakat on the 10,000. Whether you got the cash money or you just capitalize the profit and just put it on top of the original account and bought more stocks, it doesn't make any difference. The zakatable amount is 10,000 an hour in this example. If your intention is to keep like trading, speculating, buying and selling, then everything is zakatable. The market value of the stock as well as the profit that you make. Because in this particular case, the stocks be taken the same status of any merchandise, any asset that is for sale. I mean, the stock is for sale. You always keep watching like Yahoo Finance and the index in the market. You sell whenever the price goes up, you buy whenever the price goes. I mean, it means that you are speculating, buying and selling, on a regular basis. So if that's the case, then you pay zakat on everything you have. In some countries like in Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure if they still have the same system or they changed. I left the country a long time ago. They have like a governmental department supervising the collection and the payment of zakat. It's called Da'irat al-Zakat. It's exactly like Da'iratu Daribat al-Dakhl or the IRS. So they charge the companies. And instead of charging individuals, whoever is registered with a tax ID number or whatever, whoever is enrolled there will be charged zakat on an annual basis. The point that I want to make here, that if the company pays zakat on all shares, then that particular part of your zakat should not be paid again, because you have been already charged zakat. So if you are a part, or if you are like a shareholder, okay, and whatever you have is just a part of your income, this particular part of income is exempted, not exempted, has been charged already through the company itself. So you don't have to calculate the profit and just add it to the virtual pool of money and pay zakat on it again, because zakat has been charged already. If someone gets involved without knowing that what he is doing is haram, then the profit, not the profit, the interest that has been made or generated out of holding bonds has to be getting rid of completely in full. Inna Allah ta'ala tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. But the original capital, the original amount, the $5,000 bond, the original price of the bond, whenever you receive it back, is subject to zakat. But the profit, the haram profit or the interest that has been made on top of that is not subject to zakat. In fact, it has to be getting rid of completely. Even if you pay 2.5% of the interest, it will not purify it. As I said, Inna Allah ta'ala, or as the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna Allah ta'ala tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. Zakat on loan, this is on loans. This is one of the categories where the Prophet ﷺ did not specify anything. There is no straightforward hadith in the Sunnah indicates who has to pay zakat al-mal on the loan. And that's why you have a lot of, and if you read, you will be like reading a lot of differences and variety of options between the scholars. Even the majami' al-fiqhiyya, the fiqh councils, are not on the same page. They have different fatwa regarding zakatul dain, the zakatability of loan. To the best of my knowledge, the lender is exempted. The lender, the one who provides the money, the creditor, the one who lends the money or loans the money to other people, is exempt because he does not have an access to the money. If you are the lender, just wait until you receive your money back. Until you receive your money back. If you received your money back, especially that if the borrower is your Muslim brother, he is gonna take his sweet time, inshallah. Maybe after 5 to 10 years, you'll get your money back. So whenever you get your money back, inshallah, if you receive it, you pay it zakat. Now, if the lender is exempted, okay, if the lender is exempted, and the borrower is exempted because the money is not his, according to some people, then who's gonna pay zakat al-mal in that amount? Who's gonna pay zakat? To my knowledge, the borrower is the one who has to pay.